Hi, I'm George from Racing Clips and Picks, and welcome to another episode of the Outlap. We're coming off a great weekend of racing with the 24 Hours of Le Mans and a great weekend at Iowa for NASCAR. We're going to talk about both races, some news, and some rumors, along with your questions, and give our 3 stars of the weekend. We'll be right back after this break. This episode of the Outlap has been presented by Furious Motorsport. Whether you're into Formula One or just love high-speed excitement, check out their collection of F1-inspired baseball jerseys and newly launched hockey jerseys. Don't forget to use our code RACINGCLIP43712 at checkout for 10% off. Dive into the thrill of Furious Motorsport today. Don't forget that's RACINGCLIP43712 for 10% off. Now let's get back to the episode. So we had the 92nd 24 Hours of Le Mans this weekend, showing again why it's one of the greatest races in the world. Ferrari go back-to-back with some controversy, however, due to a lot of people thinking penalties that were not strict enough, were not punishing enough, but still they won by 14 seconds over Toyota. They also finished out the podium with third place too. Winning drivers are Antonio Fuoco, Miguel Molina, and Niklas Nielsen. Great weekend for Ferrari. They were showing pace throughout. Very surprising weekend for Porsche. A lot of people had high expectations for Porsche, Penske, and their customer teams, but not even a podium for them. They still finished in 4th with their highest placing car, but missed a podium by a second. So unfortunate for them. They showed a lot of pace. Cadillac was there at points, but I think them starting on the soft tires kind of messed things up a bit. Probably should start off with what everyone else is starting on. Overall, great weekend for Hypercars, showing why it's a growing field. Not really a fan. I want to say I'm not a fan, but I like how they're getting more manufacturers in, but I feel like we're kind of losing endurance racing as like what I grew up with all different types of cars and classes. But I think we might have a conversation in a year or two where we might just need a hypercar only championship, or not the whole championship, but maybe a race or two that's only hypercars, because there's so many entrances happening next year or two that are planned at least. So I think they might be looking into that, or maybe cutting down GT or LMP again, or LMP2 again. For LMP2, actually, another Italian podium for the Pro-Am division. A, of course, wins with Ben Beneco, Francois Peruto, Nicolas Veron, got their P1 in the Pro-Am. For the regular LMP2, we have United Autosports, which is Zach Brown's team. They won with Oliver Jarvis, Bojoy Garg, and everyone's favorite IndyCar rookie, Nolan Siegel. What a bounce back for him. Last month, not even a month ago, he was crashing, trying to make the Indy 500, and now he wins the 24 Hours Le Mans. I know some people don't count class wins, but in my opinion, I think if you win your class, you win the race. That's why Juan Pablo Montoya is a Triple Crown holder. Some people don't want to acknowledge that because he won LMP2, but I count it. For LMGT3, we had Manthey winning with their Porsche 911. Great job from them. It seems they lapped their competition. They lapped second place WRT by 1 lap. So overall, great job from Manthey. Overall, a great race. Not a big fan of the long safety car periods in the nighttime, but I understand why they had to do it and they couldn't just red flag things. Maybe hopefully next year we find a solution to these long safety car periods. Maybe I don't know what you do. Maybe a red flag. I know you can't just stop the clock like that. So it's a tough decision. And I wonder if they're gonna try to look into changing things for the future. And before we head over to NASCAR, we're gonna have a moment of silence for Alpine Endurance Team. Mick Schumacher, it was his moment to shine, and Alpine just had 2 DNFs, mechanical failures, and it was not a fun time for them. Hopefully next year they fix it. They figure out their hypercar program and doesn't have another embarrassment like this. But overall great race for hypercars. Again, I still think in a year or two, they might have to look into doing one or two hypercar only races, just to test it out at least, because the field is just growing so big. It's kind of why we had the destroying some classes of this year, to make space for the more hypercars. I know some fans weren't happy with it, some were ecstatic about it, so I'm kind of in the middle. I love seeing the hypercars grow, but I kind of don't want to get rid of the other classes like that because they're so important and it makes everything so much more interesting, in my opinion. Okay, let's get into Iowa. Iowa has returned to the NASCAR schedule. They had Xfinity and Cup Series racing this weekend. Sam Mayer pulled out another one. I think it's his race, sixth win in the past two seasons. So he's making a strong case for next year. Not this year's silly season. I think if he wins the championship, then yeah, but everything will be kind of decided by then. But next year, I think he's going to be getting looked at by some Cup teams. I'm not sure what Cup teams, maybe a colleague. Probably not Hendrick. I think they're set. We'll talk about this in our silly season episode coming out this weekend on Wednesday. But I think Sam Mayer might be. Hey, give him a look. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see over the next couple months and next year. Cup Series race was, I wouldn't say amazing, and it was great. It was just war of attrition. Don't blow up your tires. So that was kind of just like the Xfinity race. That bump in turn 4 is catching people out. Not a lot of major incidents. A couple guys in the wall. It was very interesting how NASCAR changed their mind and how they're going to call the race midway through. I think during the first, second kind of green flag cycle, there was guys hitting the wall, coming to pit road immediately, no cautions, and then for some reason just changed. Someone hit the wall, they called a caution immediately, and it scratched a lot of heads because he hit the wall and was still going to make it to pit road safely. So a lot of teams and crew chiefs were upset, drivers were upset. I noticed later in the race they started calling more and more. I don't know if it was NASCAR saying, hey, we need to bunch up the field some more or something like that. A lot of guys got caught out on that pit cycle because some people were pitting, some people stayed out. So a lot of people got trapped a lap down on that. So I think NASCAR, they didn't want something. I don't know if it was for safety reasons, but just interesting to see how they changed their minds and how to call the race midway through. Goodyear brought I think they had that test a week or two ago and seemed happy with it. I forgot who said, but they said compared to that test, the tire and car acted completely different. I'm hoping they repave the turns only next year to, in my opinion, I thought it was going to be just one lane racing, but guys are moving all over the place. So hopefully next year we have both turns fully paved. I don't really care about the straights, but have the turns paved. I think we're having a 10 out of 10 race next year. One major, I guess, not major incident, but one key incident involved Kyle Larson and Daniel Suarez. In my opinion, racing incident, a lot of people seem to be blaming Suarez, which I don't really understand why. Yes, Kyle Larson was coming back because he had to pit early and was just kind of sat in 30th and had to move back up. So he was just forcing his way. He was showing he could pass cars. I think he was just in that mode where he's like, I can do anything. He felt like Superman. There's a checkup in front of him. He forced a 3 wide middle. Turn 4, there's a bump that was catching people out all day, like I said earlier. Suarez seemed to have hit that bump and got loose and tried to correct it and hit Larson, and Larson's race was ruined. A lot of people are just blaming Suarez because they think he did it on purpose, but you can tell he hit that bump. I don't know what people are, just refusing to see that, but he hit the bump and then just try to correct it and then just collected Larson, put Denny Hamlin out of his misery. He was running 30th all day. I don't know what happened to them. They probably got the setup wrong or something. Interesting though, because Christopher Bell, he blew a tire in qualifying and was running up front all day, came from the back. I'm guessing maybe they learned from the mistakes when they set up the second car and the other teams can replicate that. But very interesting that the discrepancy between Denny Hamlin running P30 and then Christopher Bell running top 5 for the most of the race at the end. Race winner was Ryan Blaney. He dominated. Him and Larson were going back and forth throughout the race in the beginning in stages 1 and 2. But once Larson got out, it was Blaney's race to lose. He led out 201 laps. 201 laps. That's insane. Career high for him. Finally gets his first one of the season. It seems Ford's back. Ford has seemed to fix all their problems and might be making a run. Blaney has been showing speed these past couple weeks too, but I think this race kind of showed me that the championship might be won by Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott has been really quiet. It's almost like his 2020 season, kind of where he's up there. He's either dominating a race or he's just quietly up in the front. Hasn't finished lower than P20 all season long, which is amazing. We're 19 races in it, I think, or something. So that's very interesting. Kyle Busch had another horrible weekend, running pretty well, and then has an issue. Just like Sonoma, just like, Gateway and other races. And he's in trouble. He's in trouble. He's in a must-win situation now. Unlike Bubba Wallace and everyone around him, Joey Logano, they're 6 points out. 6 points in, 6 points out. So they can possibly point their way in if we get some repeat winners. But Kyle Busch has to win. I don't know what's going on there. I think in these next couple weeks, I think they're just going to put all their resources into Kyle and just say, Austin, I hope you understand, but we're going all in on Kyle just to get a win, just getting the top 16, because not only being in playoffs is good, but you also get more money for where you finish in the Owners' Championship, and I think that's more important for them at this point. But interesting to see what's happening with Kyle Busch. He seems frustrated in the media lately. I don't know what he's trying to do, but he's like trying to sound like he's in a hostage situation. He talked about, pause. He kind of hinted at wanting to go back to JGR, but he's like, I'm stuck. They picked up my option. I'm here until 2026. He's kind of like, is he trying to get out of there? Either way, Kyle Busch, I feel bad. He's a great racer, great competitor, but I hope we're not seeing like a washed Kyle Busch. I hope it's just a bad car for them. But yeah, it sucks to see this, man. And before we head into the news, we're gonna go over the point standings after Iowa. Chase Elliott has officially taken the lead in the regular season championship. Kyle Larson is only 8 points back. He's only 8 points back, so I think it's gonna be between him and Chase on who gets those extra bonus points for the playoffs. Denny Hamlin's in third, still 40 points back. William Byron jumped up 2 places to fourth. Man, Hendrick's strong. Even Alex Bowman's in 12th place. And pure get him out, but he's in 12th place in the standings for the season right now. Any big names down? It seems Ricky Stenhouse is in 25th. Wow. They had a decent season. I thought they would have been like 16th or something, or 17th, but they're 25th. It shows how close the field is these days. Like, go to any race weekend, and there's 20 guys that you can say, hey, this person could win. Austin Dillon is in 32nd place. Austin Dillon is in 32nd place in the championship. I don't know what's going on at RCR. Richard cannot be happy. I don't know if they're going through some things behind the scenes. I don't know why they're losing speed. Chevy hasn't scaled down anything in them. So hopefully they can figure out. They're probably not going to figure out this season. I think they kind of just said, we're done. We're going to try to get Kyle into the playoffs. And then if that doesn't happen, we're putting all our focus into 2025. Try to get this third charter or something, to get Austin Hill up or just something to change his team around. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. Okay, let's get into some news. For F1, pretty quiet weekend. We had some rumors coming out. Some teams and drivers don't seem to be happy with the 2026 regs. We'll see if those get tweaked before next season starts, because I feel like that's a deadline for them. For driver news, Alpine, it seems like a revolving door on who's going to be there. The latest rumors saying Valtteri Bottas, he's going to go there. I can see him going there. He has the experience, but I don't think he can turn that team around by himself. I think that's going to be a group effort from not just the drivers, not even the staff, but from just maybe the fans. I don't know what's going to be going on at Alpine to turn things around there. So it seems like maybe the lineup would be Bottas and Doohan. In my opinion, Victor Martin should probably get the seat over him, but he doesn't have that, I guess, staying power or marketability that even though he's been better than Doohan these past 2 years. So, it seems going to be Bottas and Doohan for those two seats. There's kind of Carlos Sainz was kind of hinting at only 2 people are leaving this year and 18 people are just going to be staying. It's pretty obvious Sargent's out. Maybe the second one might be K-Mag. Not sure there. But still, we're gonna have a lot of movement coming up in these next couple of weeks. A lot of things are happening quick. The summer break's coming soon. We'll definitely be getting news out then. But it seems things are starting to get into motion and stuff's starting to get signed. Not a lot going on in IndyCar. We kind of posted about the new Fox deal. People are split on that, 50-50. Me personally, I'm not really a fan of it because it shortened their window of when they can run races. The Fox has a massive NFL deal, which they're not going to jeopardize at all. So that's why IndyCar season's ending before Labor Day. I don't know how they're going to cram those races in. Teams were having issues with the back-to-back-to-back last year, so next year might be even worse. A lot of drivers are not happy with the conflicts in the schedule. They're going to run the same day as Le Mans next year, so it seems like this was Pelot's last chance to run it. Unfortunately for him, but a lot of the IndyCar drivers that were over in Le Mans this weekend were not happy. It seems a lot of the people that were responding to the news, like team owners, media members, and the drivers, they seemed kind of forced in their reactions to the Fox deal. But I'll wait till more details come out to see what I think of it. Me personally, I think Peacock was the best deal ever. It was $6 a month to watch IndyCar. That's an amazing deal. Fox are saying, "Don't worry, we have our own streaming service, but it's $50 a month." I'm sorry, I understand. Yeah, it's like 3 things in one, but that's practically cable. So it looks like I'm just gonna be watching on my laptop again next year. It's on Fox.com. So that's it for IndyCar. For NASCAR, we'll get some news next. For NASCAR, not a lot of news out. Just some rumors for silly season. We're gonna go over that in our next episode on Wednesday again. So keep on the lookout for that. Did hear some interesting stuff from today's broadcast, though. The broadcast was amazing, by the way. But they did kind of hint to some things like possibly Martin Truex doing 10 races next year for 2311. I'll be very happy with that. Everyone loves Martin in the garage. Everyone loves watching him on TV. Then some people hinted at some Justin Haley news of him possibly leaving Rick Ware already next year. Some people are saying Wood Brothers, which I would be shocked with. I think he's doing amazing at Rick Ware, and I think that partnership with RFK leaves a door open for him in a year or two for when Brad retires. He'll get the step up to the big team and finally show his skills. He was kind of not hindered at colleague, but their performance was so limited by what they got. So me personally, I hope he doesn't leave. He had a great race tonight. He was driving in top 10 for a lot of the race. So definitely getting some looks at though, and hopefully he stays and doesn't leave to go to Wood Brothers. For some other news that are going on. Supercars, it seems Kyle Busch may be running the Adelaide 500 at the end of the year, branching out. RC has a really big connection with AAA engineering over there in Supercars, so seems he might do a race with Kyle Busch over there. He's also trying to get Brody Kostecki to come back to the U.S. to do some more races. That'll be interesting to see how that plans out. A lot of the guys from Supercars are coming over here because that schedule was so spaced out that they had nothing to do. So like, oh, we'll come to the US, do some races. They seem very vocal on not wanting to do this because they're kind of forced to because there's nothing to do for them. So hopefully supercars, they kind of figure out their scheduling for next year, next couple years, and get things better there. Also, the FIA has made an exception for Kimi Antonelli to run F1. I think I'm not thinking races. I think they just gave him they lowered the super license requirements to 17 for him because he showed enough to them, even though he hasn't had a podium in F2. And I guess I see why he's a prodigy, but he hasn't really been setting the world on fire. Yeah, I know he skipped F3, which was kind of interesting. Mercedes, I guess, seemed to be pushing to get him ready for next year. I think they said we're just going to throw him in Mercedes. This is pretty much saying we're going to throw him in Mercedes. We're trying to get him as much seat time as possible so he's ready for next year. From what I'm reading, it seems like they're just doing it so he could run an FP1 or two before he turns 18 in September. I don't think they're replacing Sargent already. That wouldn't really make sense to me because I don't know what you would learn in half a season in that Williams. They seem to have taken a step back, so I don't know what you're really going to learn that you can't learn doing a test for Mercedes or doing some sim work for them. Okay, time for some fan questions. Not a lot of fan questions this weekend, but I'll put something in stories and you guys can just ask away. First one says, "What happens to Liam Lawson?" That's interesting. I think Red Bull's gonna see what's gonna happen to the silly season, and if there's any openings that are still there in August, they'll just push again their year for a year and then replace Yuki when he goes to Aston Martin when the Honda deal comes in. I'm still perplexed on why they keep Daniel Ricciardo. It kind of is against their whole policy for that second team, but I guess that's just them. But I think Liam Lawson, he should be in the F1 car next year. I think he's just going to be picking up scraps of what happens with silly season. I think the big domino for Lawson is what happens at that Williams seat. I think Red Bull and Val still have a good connection. Not Val's, but the Peter Williams have a good connection because they had that Albon deal. So I think if Sainz does go with Audi, then we'll see Lawson in that Williams, in my opinion. Oh, here's a brand new question. Actually came in recently. Did Iowa kill off Richmond? I wouldn't say killed off, but it definitely took away a second date for a very long time. Expect Richmond to have one date for a long time now. This race was amazing. No, it was great. Not amazing. Either amazing or great. How you viewed it. Lots of war of attrition, people going back and forth, comers and goers. It wasn't one lane like Richmond. So I think NASCAR is going to look at this and see what they get, on return on their investment. Iowa seems like a dedicated fan base, so a lot of people came out this weekend. I wouldn't say it killed Richmond, but it definitely took a race away, which might be a good thing for Richmond. I noticed with Pocono, when they got their race day taken away, attendance went up. So maybe that helps Richmond out in the future. But yeah, Iowa, great race. Definitely taking a day away from someone next year. I think Mexico is already, expected to take that Richmond date. But in the future, Iowa's going to be in the schedule. I think Richmond's going to be one date, though. Okay, again, not a lot of questions, so I'll just answer his last one, I guess. It's for IndyCar. What are 2 tracks overseas that IndyCar should race at? This is a very hard question because I feel like they would race amazing anywhere. For me personally, I think this one would be not controversial, but if they go to the UK, I would rather see them race at Brands Hatch over Silverstone. Silverstone's such a big track that everything would be so spread out, but Brands Hatch is just kind of like a short road course, like a short track for them. That's what IndyCar races are excelling at with these short tracks. So I think Brands Hatch, and then I'm kind of torn on Twin Ring Motegi. or possibly Surfer's Paradise. Not Surfer's Paradise. Bathurst, because I'm just a sucker for Bathurst. I know it wouldn't be a great race, but it would be interesting to see with the elevation and then just what drivers are brave, what drivers aren't brave. So I'll say Bathurst and Brands Hatch. Okay, we're gonna go over our 3 stars of the weekend. Our first star goes to Justin Haley in Rookware Racing. They had an amazing race driving the top 10 this whole, practically the whole race in the top 10. Finished very strong for top 15. So they get our first star. Our second star goes to Christopher Bell. After coming back from that crash in practice or qualifying, going to a backup car, which they said it wasn't raced since last year. So for them to get a top 10 finish, driving the front, they probably could even won if they had a caution go their way. So they get my second star. Third star, I have to say Ferrari. I mean, it's very hard to go back-to-back in any race, especially the 24 Hours Le Mans. They did it. It was controversial, but they still won by 14 seconds. Amazing feat for them. We'll see what happens next year if some rules get changed and not in their favor. But yeah, they get our third star. And we have a couple of races coming up this weekend. NASCAR is at New Hampshire. That short track, not the greatest racing, but still some good track racing. 1 mile up in New Hampshire. I will say for that one, my prediction would be Martin Truex Jr. I think it's just the vibes. I'm just feeling it. I think he just gets one there. Toyota. It seems like a Toyota type track too. Ford's probably going to win, given their recent history. Given the past couple weeks, I think Ford's probably going to win. But in my opinion, Martin Truex and Toyota is going to get one out. IndyCar is at Laguna Seca. I'm so used to this being later in the year. Laguna Seca, my prediction would be Colton Herta. I don't know why. It just feels like his track. They've been having a decent couple weeks. I know last weekend, last race was an anomaly. He still fought back. Came from P30 and still finished top 10. They've been showing speed here and there, but yeah, I think Colton Herta gets one next week at Laguna Seca. F1 is at Spain. This is a tough one, and I haven't said this for F1 in a while. I want to say Red Bull, but I feel Leclerc win. I don't know why. Ferrari has just been gaining so much momentum. Even with McLaren too. It's like a three-way fight for the past couple weeks. Mercedes, hopefully they get their stuff together. It makes it even more entertaining. But I think Leclerc gets a win with Ferrari at Spain. Thank you for staying along and listening to the whole episode. My name is George from Racing Clips and Picks, and this has been another episode of the Outlap. We'll see you next week.